Nix, basically Kansas City said, we're not giving you anything over the top. We're going to make it long, slow, boring drives, and that's what they did. Sean Payton knows what he's doing. A lot of guys, a lot of GMs didn't like Bo Nix. Sean Payton loved him. He's now 23-10 as a pro. Playoffs both years. First quarterback ever, league history ever. 10-plus wins, 30-plus total touchdowns, first 2 years in the league. And he leads the NFL in pass attempts the last 2 years, so they're putting everything on him. No babysitting like early Big Ben. And then there's R.J. Harvey. R.J. Harvey last year, everybody said that's a reach. Hey, he shouldn't be a high draft pick, R.J. Harvey. The dude's got only 4 fewer touchdowns than Christian McCaffrey and 200 fewer touches. He's a tremendous receiver, tremendous young player who gets into the end zone. I think he has like 11 touchdowns. Again, don't worry about the style points. This is at Arrowhead. It is a division rival, and you won by a touchdown. You do understand a touchdown is a big spread. Seattle's a touchdown favorite over Carolina. If they win by a touchdown, are you unimpressed? You go on the road, division rival, you win, you take it. Kansas City said, we're not giving you anything over the top. They didn't. And for the record, in the first game between these two, Bo Nix made a huge 3rd and 15 conversion, game-winning drive. Last night, 3rd and 10, huge conversion, game-winning drive. So you take the touchdown. And here's the other thing, is I don't know if Denver is going to fly through. I mean, they just got whacked by Jacksonville. Maybe Jacksonville is the best team in the AFC, certainly possible. But the last 2 years, in the fourth quarter, the most important quarter in football, Josh Allen leads the NFL in fourth quarter touchdowns. Bo Nix is second.
Denver Broncos supporters, you've been with me for a while now. You're familiar with my consistent output and my tendency to express my viewpoints with considerable emphasis. So, what has been my persistent commentary regarding Bo Nix? I've consistently drawn a parallel. He reminds me profoundly of Josh Allen. I have to extend a swift but sincere acknowledgement to the Broncos organization and their fan base. The NFL landscape over the past several seasons has, at times, felt remarkably repetitive. When you are deeply immersed in the weekly cycle of analysis and discourse, it's possible to become almost desensitized to this sameness. You may not immediately recognize the pattern, akin to occupying a room with a particular odor. You cease to notice it until you step out and return, only then exclaiming, "Whoa!" Or it's like having a loud fan running in the background. The true volume only becomes apparent once you switch it off. For me, personally, the Denver Broncos have served as that refreshing departure from the monotony of watching football. A select few teams, notably the Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks, whom I affectionately refer to as my babies, have reintroduced a layer of depth, versatility, and intrinsic intrigue that I find exceptionally compelling. Perhaps it's the spirit of the holiday season amplifying my sense of appreciation, but gratitude is a powerful perspective. Watching their recent contest, I compiled my post-game analysis last night, acknowledging it was a notably dramatic affair and touched upon the surrounding spectacle involving the Chiefs, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, and so forth. However, upon reflection, last night and this morning, while perusing comments and observing a segment of the Kansas City Chiefs fan base engage in what can only be described as copious and, frankly, rather juvenile coping mechanisms, reminiscent of a child's tantrum, it crystallized a realization. It highlighted how stagnant, dry, and frankly boring the discourse had become, with certain circles repeating the same generic, unoriginal points ad nauseum. The same media personalities would reiterate identical tropes, creating a cyclical, predictable pattern. It felt like a broken record. Here we go again. Every response, every outcry became entirely foreseeable. Now enter the Denver Broncos. Let's be clear. This recent matchup was not an epic, historic clash of titans. Ideally, we would have witnessed Patrick Mahomes versus Bo Nix at full strength, but that wasn't the hand dealt. Such is the nature of the sport. Yet it was remarkably telling to see a contingent of Chiefs fans emerge with comments like, "Congratulations, you beat our third stringers," and similar dismissals. My immediate thought was the historical precedent. This same franchise lost to Aiden O'Connell on Christmas Day not long ago, in a game where the quarterback's stat line was minimal. When this parallel is drawn, the predictable retort is, what does that have to do with anything? This reaction is precisely the point. If you are deriding the Broncos' victory as revealing or exposing them, while simultaneously dismissing your own past loss to an inferior team as irrelevant, your logic is inconsistent. As a longtime KC fan might label it, this is whataboutism. It is not. It is invoking a concrete, directly relevant precedent to demonstrate why using this single victory as a definitive judgment on the Broncos is intellectually hollow. It's the equivalent of legal or debate practice. You examine precedent. When the precedent involves the complaining party's own team in a directly analogous situation, the argument gains substantial weight. With a team like the Denver Broncos ascending to the NFL's upper echelon, led by Bo Nix and head coach Sean Payton, we are subjected to a wave of predictable declarations about their identity and limitations. The irony is palpable because this predictability often emanates from what is currently arguably the most predictable source, a segment of the Kansas City Chiefs fan base and certain lingering media voices. We witnessed this dynamic recently when a prominent commentator drastically downgraded Bo Nix in his rankings with a confrontational, "What are you going to do about it?" tone. The underlying motivations are transparent. This is particularly amusing because Bo Nix, over the past couple of seasons, has authored a narrative of tremendous success, which some are determined to minimize. This brings to mind commentary from this past summer, where the same voice insisted, "This team is not that good. Why does anyone think this team is good?" Then, following victories, the narrative pivoted to, "The only thing that can hold this team back is Bo Nix." The contradiction is glaring. Previously, the entire roster was deemed insufficient. Now, the roster is awesome, and the sole potential impediment is the quarterback. There's a distinction between evolving one's opinion based on new evidence and presenting two fundamentally contradictory assessments. I find this rhetorical dance endlessly fascinating. Regarding Bo Nix and the Broncos' current state, even after this game, I find myself pondering, are observers expecting every single performance to be a 35-7 blowout? I'm uncertain. This is a point I emphasized in my post-game analysis. Some teams, like the Philadelphia Eagles earlier this season, required fundamental schematic and philosophical shifts. For them, a 20-13 win over a lesser opponent might have felt unsatisfactory, indicative of unresolved issues. That is not the Broncos' current reality. There is no foundational flaw in coaching philosophy, quarterback execution, receiver play, or offensive line performance requiring an overhaul. If anything, one might hope for a slightly more robust defensive showing than in recent weeks. But this particular game was not the ideal showcase for that. Sometimes, contests simply unfold in a specific, often underwhelming manner. The conversation surrounding this outcome is intriguing because it is simultaneously novel, centered on a new contender, yet weirdly predictable in its dismissive tone, emanating from the sources previously mentioned. At this juncture, I believe the Broncos have reached a plateau where the regular season holds few additional existential lessons. The singular question is, can you deliver in the playoffs? Yes or no? This contrasts with teams like the Eagles, who could arguably benefit from several more games to refine their new identity, though their solidified seeding may preclude this. Or the Buffalo Bills, to a degree. The Jacksonville Jaguars face the same binary playoff test. I'm considering if any other contenders remain in a true figure-it-out phase. Perhaps the Chicago Bears to an extent, or the Los Angeles Chargers as they navigate significant injuries to maximize their offensive potential. But the Broncos? They are in a holding pattern. The analogy that comes to mind is a video game lobby, simply waiting for the next level, the playoffs, to load. That is the entirety of the current focus. It's an enviable position. You cannot examine this Broncos squad and identify a glaring, singular deficiency that will inevitably doom them in January. That specter simply isn't present. While dominating the Chiefs by a large margin would have been gratifying, a resounding victory does not automatically translate to playoff supremacy. Consider the Detroit Lions, who have been masters of compiling impressive point totals, not in a malicious running up the score manner, but as a facet of their aggressive style. What has that unequivocally secured for them? The Chiefs themselves have posted commanding wins over teams like the Commanders and Raiders, celebrating as if they'd conquered a monumental challenge. Yet those victories proved meaningless in the broader context of their season struggles. If a team genuinely needed to alter its approach and had a track record of fundamental problems, not a half-decade of elite success, then a dominant win might signal meaningful change. For the Chiefs this season, it clearly did not. The key is discerning when it is crucial for a team to impose its will and execute at a peak level. Earlier this season, when the Broncos faced the Cincinnati Bengals, such a statement was necessary, and they delivered decisively, dominating Jake Browning in a high-quality, thoroughly executed performance. However, not every game against a lesser opponent will manifest that way. This is the NFL. Furthermore, in a game like this recent one, an experienced coach like Sean Payton likely adopted a pragmatic mindset. Let's be smart, secure the victory by any necessary means, even if just by a field goal, and move on. While he would undoubtedly prefer a 35-7 route, he recognizes when a game is developing differently and adjusts his primary objective to simply winning. Coaches do not enter games with the same absolutist expectations as fans who demand 21-point victories. Games develop their own unique personalities. We have witnessed this phenomenon to an extraordinary degree this season, more than any in recent memory. We've observed shootouts between the Cowboys and Packers, followed by gritty, low-scoring defensive battles involving those same Packers against the Eagles. The Eagles-Chiefs game defied easy categorization. The Broncos-Jets matchup was perplexing. Then we had a thrilling back-and-forth contest between the Chiefs and Broncos. The Broncos convincingly handled the Packers, then the Jaguars convincingly beat the Broncos, though perhaps not to the extreme degree perceived. Each contest assumes its own distinct identity. This is why I believe it's vital to occasionally pause for reflection. As much as I enjoy immediate post-game reactions, and I genuinely do, finding value in capturing the raw emotional pulse, 90% of the time, my understanding of a game's significance deepens hours later, or even the next day. It requires listening to other perspectives, reading commentary, and allowing my thoughts to fully coalesce. Other viewpoints can introduce nuances I hadn't considered, helping to clarify my own stance. My appreciation for this Broncos victory has only solidified since yesterday, and I held a positive view initially. The ensuing discourse, including the palpable shift in tone from commentators like Colin, is a fascinating component of the narrative. Those are my extended reflections. I am absolutely eager to hear yours. What are your collective thoughts on Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos? To what extent can he propel this team in the postseason? Frankly, I don't frame it as Bo carrying the team. I view it as the collective unit performing to its established capability. But I am interested in your assessment. Please share your insights in the comments below. I read every single comment, whether you concur with my perspective or stand in opposition. Let's engage in some dialogue, even some spirited debates. Ultimately, let's enjoy the shared passion for the sport. Please consider subscribing to the channel. We are cultivating an exceptional community here, and I would be thrilled to have you participate. My objective is to forge a space where we feel a genuine connection and collective excitement. I believe we are making significant strides toward that goal. Also, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely enhances visibility within the platform's algorithm. Thank you sincerely for your time and engagement. I will see you next time.